There it is. I wanted to hear that part of that for some reason. Da-na-na-na. Part gets me a little bit jammed. Da-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na. Dun-dun-dun. All right, that's enough. That's enough. Welcome to episode 10, From Nest to Sky, the Evolution of CyberHoot. I'm Chuck Taylor, developer, chaos wrangler, and the host of this Hoot-fueled flight. Today, we're rewinding the tape back on how CyberHoot took off. From a scrappy little policy tool called SPAW, yeah, you heard that right, SPAW, to a full-blown cybersecurity training autopilot that even Carl can't break. We're pulling back the curtain, poking a little bit of fun at our past selves, and celebrating how far we've come with only a little bit of mild trauma. Ready to see how this bird learned to fly? Let's go. All right, buckle up, flock. Here's what's coming your way on this episode of Shoot the Hoot. Kicking things off with a quick rant, more like a dramatic retelling of how CyberHoot's platform went from a baby bird called SPAW to the automated, owl beast it is today. Spoiler alert, it wasn't always pretty. Next up, our nerd update. What's new, what's coming, and of course, what broke and hilariously limped back to life. That's what I do, limping back. And finally, we close with a horror story about the time we tried to grow up too fast, spent a little too much, and almost hooted ourselves into extinction. Oh, I tipped over the Q&A part. Of course, ask your questions, please. I keep asking for questions. I'm not sure if people just aren't on here live or what, but people are shy. They're not asking questions. Ask questions, or I have to ask the questions of myself. So listen, that's the plan. It's full of wisdom, wild stories, and just enough chaos to keep things spicy. So let's fly. Let's talk about where this all really started. Humble little tool called SPAW. SPAW, the Simple Policy Access website. My co-founder, Craig Taylor, called me up with this idea. And honestly, I didn't have time. It was his idea. I was a developer. I didn't have time to take this on. So I looked at a couple of my dev buddies to build the first version while I kept my distance. You fast forward a little bit now. My dev buddies moved on, and I stepped in to take it over. Lucky me, right? That's why I'm here today. SPA was created for one main customer under our company, Tailored Governance Services, which, fun fact, sounds like a family business. But Craig and I aren't related. Just two tailors, one platform, and one glorious pile of manual processes. It was bare bones, but it worked. No videos, no quizzes, just policies, tracking, and a dream one day to be big. Now, let's fast forward a bit. SPAW, our humble, simple policy access website, was doing its job. Policies were shared, boxes were being checked, compliance technically achieved. But here's the thing, no one was actually learning. We built a checkbox machine, and deep down we knew cybersecurity isn't just about accessing policies. It's about understanding them, remembering them, and most importantly, living them. So we had a decision to make. Stay safe in policy land or shake things up. So spoiler alert, we shook things up. That's so that's when things started. We started adding videos, quizzes, and real training content, which meant we were no longer just a policy portal. We were stepping into a messy, glorious world of behavior change. And that's when the real pain hit. We had to rethink everything, our architecture, our tools, our mindset, even our company name. What started as a lightweight site became a full-on platform. And we knew we couldn't just bolt on features and hope for the very best. Then came the moment, automation of cybersecurity video training. Let's face it, no IT admin wants to chase 37 users and a policy about phishing. So that pivot, the uncomfortable, frustrating, and 100% necessary pivot is what set us on the path to build something that didn't just check boxes, it changed behavior. And that, my friends, is when we went from tailored governance services to CyberHoot and started to fly. All right, let's talk about when things really started to click. We went from being a simple training tool to something, well, kind of superpowered. This is when we started layering in some real muscle. dark web monitoring, HootPhish, attack fish, real-time reporting, and syncing with Google and Microsoft. Suddenly, we weren't just checking the boxes. We were smashing them. We called it the Power Platform. And not just because it sounds cool when you say it, with dramatic music playing in your head. And I can't help but thinking about that iconic song, I think from the 90s by Snap, titled The Power. Well, you guys remember not? I've got the power, power, boom, 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 boom. I've got the power, power. We had the power, we have the Power Platform. Let me show you the Power Platform, just a quick look at it. And so I'll share my screen with you. You can get a quick peek under the feathers of what this thing looks like. So some people may not be using this platform. So let me try to share here. Never really done this before. Or maybe I did it once. I don't remember. Let's see. Hold on a second. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. And we're sharing. This is the Power Platform. This was the original build when we first started tailored governance services and then into CyberHoot. So it starts off here with a multi-tenant environment. This is our PowerUp environment. So our demo environment, excuse me. So these are all like fake customer names and stuff. So don't worry, you won't see your name here. All right. So you can, if you had a multi-tenant, if you're like an MSP, you have multi-tenant, you can see all this. If you're a direct business, you only just see your name without this little switch customers icon. And it started out, guess what was here? Just policies. That was it. Just policies, nothing else. But then as we started to pivot and we went to that dangerous land of doing more things, we added in, of course, a dashboard. Then we added in videos and the ability to say, hey, this video is active, pending, archived, and an entire training library, right? We added in our phishing. And in our phishing, of course, all the same things, but we also added in attack fish versus HootPhish. We're doing some new stuff. Programs, right? You had the ability to assign programs. And then, of course, reports. So as you can see here, this is our Power Platform. Things are a little bit different. You can kind of see how you navigate through things and stuff, but then how do you add a user? So you go up to the admin here, and since I'm a site admin, I have access to the site admin menu as well. But typically customers would just see the customer admin, but the MSP would have the full site. You see things, you have to go over here to like your user group manager and say, hey, this is where we're going to manage the users over here. Now, this all wasn't here, of course. This is how the Power Platform sits today with all of our gamification, the HootPhish and attack that was added with the attack fish. You see we've added the enter ID, the doodle syncing and stuff. Lots and lots of power features in here, being able to send outstanding assignments, you name it. The platform was truly powerful, all right? So now let's stop sharing here, all right? And let's go back. So you've seen a little look at what Power looked like and kind of see how it started out with just policies at first. Then we started adding more menus and more functionality and stuff, right? So let's keep moving. Let's see, here we are. So by this point, the Power Platform had become, well, powerful. We had added a ton of features like dark web monitoring, phishing simulations, Google and Microsoft Sync, you name it, it was in there. It was robust, flexible, and packed with tools. But here's the catch. Excuse me a sec. Here's the catch. Customers were paying for everything, whether they used it or not. And configuring it, let's just say it wasn't always love at first click. The power was there, but the simplicity, not so much, though we've tried. So we took a step back and asked, what if we built something new? Focused entirely on automation, simplicity, and intuitiveness. That's when Autopilot was born. Designed to run itself, no IT babysitting required. Automated training, check. Simulated phishing, check. Dark web monitoring, check. All built in, just turn it on and let it fly, and it takes off. And look, we love power, but trying to configure it sometimes felt like assembling IKEA furniture without the instructions, like in Swedish while blindfolded. It's not that bad. I hyperbolize, but it was a little bit more difficult. But with Autopilot, we made it so simple, even Carl could set it up without calling support. Let me show you what I mean. Let's take a quick little tour of Autopilot. Let me add this, share this here, share screen, window, Autopilot. Okay, so this is our Autopilot. I'll go over to the customer dashboard here to give you sort of an idea. So in a multi-tenant environment, you'll see all these different cards and stuff. Again, this is our demo environment, so you won't see your real names and stuff here, right? So this is our customer dashboard. You see how we kind of laid this out, that really, really simple. Based on where you are in the platform, the context of what's obviously the next thing you should be doing once you're here is where we actually start off, right? So at this level, you can jump and add a new customer. You can look at the Hoot ranks that are associated with all your customers. You can look at individual customers or high-level numbers. Of course, you can dive into those customers. On the left-hand side, this is where those power-ups and all came in. So Autopilot, when we first started out, didn't have all those power-ups. Didn't have power-ups at all. This whole menu wasn't even there. So we've been iterating, making this thing better and better. And we put Autopilot out there, and people loved it. It had monthly security videos, cybersecurity videos. It had quarterly HootPhish, and it had dark web monitoring. And that was it. No configuration. You couldn't do anything. That was it. But it ran, and it worked, and it delivered, and people loved it. But then they said, I want more. Show me the power. And I said, I got the power. You want the power? Sure. So what we did, we created these things called PowerUps. What we did was we rewrote everything to make each individual PowerUp a module, right? You can actually turn on and leverage inside the platform, right? So here's our cybersecurity and video module. Here's our HootPhish module, attachfish, and so forth. Some of these are core modules that are kind of, at least one of these need to be turned on, but then we've got some other ones here that are more just optional. So this allows you to kind of manage things at the PowerUp level, or you can dive into the customer and manage it down at the customer level. So a lot of power inside of this. So, and I'm happy to say we've been trying to add to Autopilot over the last 6 months. I'm happy to say that Craig Taylor the other day, he's always been pushing the Power platform. I heard him say the other day, he goes, actually, Chuck, one could argue that the Autopilot platform actually is more powerful than the Power platform today, because it has 95% of what the Power platform has, but has much better automation and simplicity. So a big win for us. Autopilot, this is our product we're going to be pushing as much as possible. The Power platform is still available, but this is the one we'll be pushing it first. And Autopilot, the Power, maybe if you have to, maybe if you're requiring programs, if you're required to create your own programs and assign them, that's available on our Power platform. That's actually one of the things we're going to be adding to this platform under our custom hoots, right? And of course, this is your customer view, and you see how the context changes based upon where you are. So that's our Autopilot platform. If you sign up and come in, most of you are probably going to be in that one. We're going to look to migrate some of our customers that are in Power to this platform as well. So we've been doing a lot of migrations and stuff that's been happening, and this is the platform that we're pushing and selling. So if you're watching this video and you're saying, hey, I want to see a demo of CyberHoot, this is the platform you're most likely going to be viewing. All right, so let me stop sharing this and keep moving on, right? So what did we learn from this sky-high journey? Well, it's been 11 years, at least 11 years for this. So what I've learned is you have to start scrappy, but start, right? Start scrappy, but no matter what, start, period. There will be painful pivots, which will often unlock very powerful platforms. Automation isn't a luxury, it's a lifesaver. And when you build with people in mind, you don't just pass audits, you build habits. But enough about the past. You came here for the shiny new stuff too, right? Let's pop open the overhead bin and dig into CyberHoot's nerd updates. What's new? What's coming? And yes, what's occasionally on fire? So let's talk about our nerd update for the week. Whew, buckle up for this month's CyberHoot nerd update. We had a whopping 18 updates fly through the nest this week. Don't worry, I won't read all of them. It'd be like an audio book, right? I'm not that guy. Just don't read the ones that are worth hooting about. So first up, date formatting got to glow up. We standardized how we display dates and times across the board. No more guessing if it's MMDD, like month, day, or is it DDMM, day, month. Not a problem anymore. Consistency for the win, please. You got it. All right. We also renamed the policy status to assignment status in the compliance summary report, because clarity really is important when Carl's trying to read his reports. The user status page got a facelift too, both in Autopilot and in Power, now with profile info baked right in. We tweak toast notifications so they don't hide behind the chat icon in the bottom right-hand corner. You can finally see what the system is yelling at you about. And you might be saying, what's a toast notification? It's not like, hey, your user failed to load. Boom, right? No, not that toast. But it's just a little message that pops up at the bottom right-hand side. They're actually called toast from a technical perspective. So we also added some serious muscle to attack phish in Autopilot. We now have new scheduling features that includes annual and semi-annual options for cadences. We have auto training options. Yeah, auto training options, that's right. And also smarter campaign controls. So you got a lot more features in there. I did a demo with a pretty big prospect a couple of weeks ago. And they said, hey, we need to be able to say when they go out, the emails go out for the attack phish, and over a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and when it actually ends. And I don't want to automatically assign the training if I don't want to automatically assign training. He asked for that 2 weeks ago. Boom. In tonight's release, it's going out, right? That's how fast. We are an agile development company. We also fixed a sneaky bug where our auth emails were case sensitive, causing some of our users to disappear into the void. That's fixed now. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Sorry about that, the little case sensitive problem there. Also, for our custom Hoots fans, our custom Hoots where you can actually create your own policies or documents and send out tests or your own video, link to it on YouTube and Vimeo. So we renamed in that policy to Hoot, because it's a hoot, not a policy, right? And we also fit some flat scheduling bugs that we found in the first release. This was just released, I believe, last Tuesday. And for the cleanup crew, we added a tool to merge users with their email domain changes. So when Carl's company goes from a .co to a .com, you're covered. Oh, and to-dos now only show active entries. So your to-do list, we only show you the active ones because why show stuff that no one needs to do? Sorry about that. That was actually my fault. All right. So yeah, 18 updates, a lot of small wins and a few big ones. All in all, a solid week of Hoot tweaking magic. That was 1 week of changes. So let's keep flying. Up next, our Q&A. It's that time. Open mic Q&A, or as I like to call it, you ask and I ramble convincingly. This is your chance to ask anything. Product questions, roadmap stuff, even how many Hoots Carl has to take, right? Just don't leave me up here answering questions I wrote myself, which I've done every episode. We've seen how that goes. And guess what? I'm prepared to do it again. I'll do it. Seriously, drop your questions in the chat or I'll ask a couple myself. And remember, there are no dumb questions, just ones that get featured in the next Hoot-worthy horror story. So let's go. Let's see. I don't know if we're going to have any. No questions. There's no one alive out there. Have I hit was it when the world ends there's only one person left? Maybe that's me. Maybe not. All right, I have questions. Oh, I got questions. All right, first question. All right, if I could go back to SPAW version 1, what would I tell myself? First I'd say nice name. I mean, really, SPAW rolls off the tongue. It's like SPAW. Don't like the name at all, right? The Simple Policy Access Website. It makes sense. It's an acronym. Let's call it SPAW. Sure, but SPAW. And you say, what's the big deal? You don't call it SPAW today. You're right. We don't call it SPAW today. It's either called Power or Autopilot. But guess what? On the back end, the code name is SPAW. You have that code name on the back end. So that's what we refer to. So that's the first thing I would do. Next thing I do is whisper like, hey, buddy, maybe don't hard code everything. And don't let your friends bail out so quickly, right? My two dev buddies, they got out fast, right? So here I was left. But then honestly, I'd probably say start scrappy and stay scrappy. But don't be afraid to pivot hard when it's time. Because sometimes you go into this in one direction and the market takes you in another. And that's okay if you're passionate about what you're doing. So be ready for the hard pivots. All right, any other questions? Boom, 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 none yet. Okay, question 2. What's been the biggest surprise in CyberHoot's evolution? Okay, interesting. I just thought I'd be surprised about people actually loving the set it and forget it. Because when we first built this, I know Craig had the vision and I was sold on it that this would be used a lot by like vCISOs and companies or people who were responsible for cybersecurity in their companies, and they would manage all the training and all the pieces for them. They would manage this for the company, but it didn't work that way. right? It didn't quite happen. It morphed into a platform for MSPs and businesses. Autopilot was born, limiting features and configuration options, and people loved it. They loved the automation. We thought if people wanted that hands-on approach, but most people want the automation. I would say also the fact that we built an OWL-themed platform, with the whole knowledge and everything, and no one gave us crap about it, and no one stopped us. That's probably the biggest miracle. All right. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. I suspect not. We have a shy audience. Tell you what. In the next, here's what I'm going to do. Being a co-founder, I've got the power. In the next live video, the next person give me the first question in the next live video, I will give them 10% off their next invoice. All right, it's out there. Hopefully you're listening. Hopefully you're paying attention. All right, let's keep it moving then. Let's close down this Q&A nest and let's dive into something a little scarier. It's time for our Hoot-worthy horror story. Survey says, uh-oh. Now this is interesting. Grab your popcorn, your patch cables, because this one's going to take you way back. It takes us way back to a time when CyberHoot lived in the magical land of, drumroll please, my basement. Yeah, that's right. CyberHoot was in my basement. Now, it wasn't CyberHoot at first, but it got there. CyberHoot was in my basement. Now, picture it. We're talking a rack of servers, blinking lights, and that warm hum of potential. Or maybe that was a dehumidifier. Either way, CyberHoot was scrappy, lean, and very DIY. We were literally hooting from home, my home. Simple, right? Pretty straightforward, very easy to do. Then came an exciting opportunity, a partner with a big idea. Surveys. Survey says surveys, right? Or as we branded them, assessments. It was a pretty simple thought. Just build a system to let people create questions, assign scores to the answers, roll it up into a tidy summary, and do it securely. Oh, and by the way, we also need to move everything, the entire platform and architecture, into a high security, high cost cloud environment to support the new direction. So what did we do? What did I do specifically? Like any well-balanced developer, father, and husband would do. I spent my entire Christmas break elbows deep in PHP, trying to bring this vision to life while migrating everything out of my cozy, cost-effective basement into the security fortress in the cloud, right? Tons and tons of work, busting my ass doing it, right? My tail doing it, busting my ass doing it. And guess what? It worked. The platform was in the cloud. The survey module was alive. We were ready, except for one little thing. The customer our partner was chasing, yeah, they never signed. Cue the sound of the record scratching, the sad trombone, and the slow realization that we just sunk serious time and treasure into something no one was using. Not to mention this big bill we're going to have every month for hosting this very expensive, high security cloud. So what did we do? We packed our code up. We tipped our hats to the expensive cloud environment and marched ourselves right back to the basement, right? Back to the basement is right where we went, right? Turn everything back on in the basement, got everything working again, and we were back up and running in no time. Honestly, it was like reverse migration, but with a lot more financial sanity. So now we were saving lots of money. But here's the twist. The survey module actually turned out great. We ended up with a solid tool that's still sitting in our Power platform, just ready to be activated. And spoiler alert, my vision now is to transform it into a full-blown cybersecurity assessment PowerUp. So MSPs can assess customers, track their progress, and their growth. So yeah, we nearly broke ourselves building something for a ghost customer, but in true CyberHoot fashion, we bounced back with smarter infrastructure, better features, and a story that's 50% tragedy, 50% comedy, and 100% true. The moral, don't build castles in the cloud unless the knights are already paying the rent. All right, and that's a wrap on episode 10. From Nest to Sky, the evolution of CyberHoot. From SPAW to Autopilot, from my basement to the cloud, and back again. We've flown through every twist, turn, face palm, and breakthrough that got us here. This isn't the end of the flight. We're just entering new airspace. More features, more power, more hoots. As always, if you've got questions, feedback, wild ideas, or just want to say hey, Chuck, send us a note at shootthehoot@cyberhoot.com. We actually read those, probably while we're having lunch, most likely. So thanks for flying with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay quirky, and hoot on.